The London Classic Car Show returned to an indoor venue this year and went to what many consider to be the spiritual home of the motor show, Kensington Olympia. The main stage was called Fighting Talk, and this was where the interviews were hosted by Alex Brundle, sounding very much like his father Martin, and Vicky Butler Henderson. Around the outside of the stage were lined a number of cars of note. There was the Porsche 917 replica by Icon, but also this wonderful Corvette C2 Stingray. It's an FIA racing car owned by the late Ted Williams, and this starred in the Goodwood Revival TT celebration race, driven by ex-world champion Alan Jones and also driven by Jason Plato. And next to this iconic American beast is this beautiful Italian Alfa Romeo GTA. The GTA was the racing version of the GT Sprint. It was about 200 kilograms lighter. It had the 1.6 twin-cam engine. This engine is a pure race engine, and so is kicking out about 170 bhp, prepared by the Jolly Club racing team. A proper tin-top racing car, and looking great in those Italian colours. There seem to be so many anniversaries this year, and the 60th anniversary of the Mini Cooper was one that was recognised by the London Classic Car Show. These three cars belong to Paul, George and Ringo from the Beatles, and the eye-catching psychedelic one in the middle, that was George Harrison's car, and appeared in the film The Magical Mystery Tour. It wasn't just all cars, there were other stalls as well showing their wares. There's some wonderful antiques and collectibles. And how about this charming Abarth van? I always love the support vehicles which you sometimes see in the paddock. And this is lovely, owned by the Classic Car Company. And how great to turn up at a race meeting and have that next to your race car in the paddock. There were a number of high-end dealers at the event, but the stand that really caught my eye was the Phoenix Green Garage display. The Phoenix Green Garage in Hartley Witney is recognised as the birthplace of the Vintage Sports Car Club, but I'm rather ashamed to say I've actually never visited it. They specialise in pre-war cars, and they had a 1921 Bentley 3-litre with a TT-style body, flanked by two 6C 1750 Alfas. This one, which we're looking at here, is a 1929 Super Sport Spider by Zagato, and that is the original Zagato body. It's recently been rebuilt, and it's ready for immediate use, or so I'm told. The 6C 1750 was, of course, an incredibly successful model. The 6C denotes the number of cylinders that it has, and the Super Sport has the twin-cam engine, as opposed to the single cam for the base model. And when it was introduced in 1929, the 6C 1750 just won every major event and race that it entered. This really was a supercar of its time, and if you wanted to win anything, you needed an Alfa 6C 1750. This is the Bentley. It's a 1921 car, and as I mentioned, it's got a TT-style body. It's 3 litres, and quite rare to see such an early Bentley. This is chassis number 29, so it really is quite something. The 3-litre was the first model made by Bentley, and it was available to the public in 1921. The TT-style body is that of the type that was used on the cars that raced in the 1922 Isle of Man TT race, where W.O. Bentley drove himself, and Frank Clements and Hawkes were the other two drivers. Clements came in second, and W.O. came in fourth and Hawkes fifth, which meant that Bentley won the team prize, which gave the new marque a lot of positive publicity, which was the aim of entering that race in 1922. Historics Auctioneers were offering a sale of over 100 classics at the event, and this Austin Healey, a 1957 Austin Healey 106, really caught my eye. It has a new chassis and it also has aluminium body panels which make it incredibly light. The engine was gas-flowed with larger valves and double valve springs and even has oversized pistons, and it was converted to fuel injection. So, okay, it's not your original spec, but I bet it makes a very reliable, high-speed cruiser with that appeal of the traditional British sports car. When the new bonnet was made, they moulded in the extra fog lights at the front, and it really gives it that purposeful rally look. It comes with a hard top in Old English white, and the quality of the finish is just incredible. The tobacco brown leather interior, and it's got modern upgrades such as a USB connector in there and stereo. And, you know, that is a comfortable place to be for long journeys. And there really is a place, I think, for these sort of tweaked and modernised old classics. The estimate was in the early 30s, which was a bit of a bargain because the price of getting that Austin Healey to that standard must have been extortionate. Now, this is a really interesting car. This is a 1953 Jaguar Jupiter Mark II. It never actually existed in period. The Mark I did, and the drawings were done of the Mark II, but unfortunately, the company folded before it was actually made. So it is a one-off, this is. Jaguar Jupiters had tremendous racing success. They actually won their class at the Le Mans 24 Hours. And what's quite astounding is that the chassis is designed by Eber and von Eberhorst, who was the Austrian who was the chief engineer on the pre-war Auto Union Grand Prix cars. This car was built in 2008 by respected Jaguar restorer Alan Fishburne, and you certainly won't see another one. What was surprising was that the estimate for this was in the low 20s, and I think it actually went for about 21,000, and that is a bargain. I loved this car, and maybe it was because of the number plate alone. And my daughter has the same initials as I do, so she felt it was also appropriate to be in our garage. Unfortunately, that will have to wait for another day. But it's what is described now as an evocation of the Jaguar C Type. It has the aluminium body and it's not fiberglass. This car was built in the 1990s. The spark plugs there mounted next to the driver in the cockpit. That's just like the original and is a really lovely touch. Now for something a bit different. This is a 1965 Amphicar. It's an amphibious vehicle. It was designed for the American market, but it actually wasn't particularly successful, so there were less than 4,000 built. That has, in turn, made it one of these quirky collectible cars, and the bidding on this was really quite competitive. Propulsion is provided by these twin propellers, which are in turn driven by the Triumph Herald engine. This allowed it to achieve 7 knots on the water and 70 miles per hour on land. As I say, the bidding was strong, and I think it went way above its highest estimate and hit the 51,000 mark. Now, these cars are very close to my heart. My father had a Lotus 7 with just a humble BMC A-Series engine, but it was that swiftness of acceleration and that pure visceral driving experience that really gave me the bug for open-top sports cars, which I still have today. This, of course, is a Caterham 7, and it's the 40th anniversary edition. Built in 1997, it has the powerful Rover K-Series fuel-injected 1.6-litre engine. That gives it 115 bhp at 6,000 RPM. There were only 67 of these 40th anniversary editions made, and they were all painted in this ruby and silver colour combination. It hit its mid-estimate target of 15,000. These, of course, are the recognisable lines of the Morgan Plus 4. The thing with Morgans is that they look the same if they were built in the 1950s to if they were built in the 70s or 80s. This is a 1953 car, and it's believed that it had the older flat rad design before it was returned to the factory to have the more modern round-nosed radiator fitted. It's powered by the 2-litre Triumph engine, which was created to power the TR2, and this car has actually seen some light competition with hill climbing. And I love the 2 spare wheels mounted at the back to give it that touring car feel. This had an estimate of 17,000, but I don't think it's sold. This 1959 Alfa Romeo Giulietta Sprint looked lovely, the Bertone body looking resplendent in red. These elegant sports coupes had the twin-cam 4-cylinder engine. The car originally went over to the States, which is significant because with the weather over there, it meant that the body probably didn't suffer the rust that some of its European sisters would have done. It was actually restored in Poland to concours condition in 2016, and it still presents beautifully. This was an eye-catching creation by the Model A Revival Company. They create these pre-war speedsters from original vintage Model A chassis. This is the Ballard Special, and it has twin engines and displaces 7.2 litres. I was told that it has massive torque and pretty spectacular acceleration. With no creature comforts, it must be a real throwback to the golden age of motoring. The company is based in Kent, but they frequently visit the States to source these unloved chassis. So that was it for the London Classic Car Show. By the end of Friday, it was quite quiet, but I believe Saturday and Sunday was incredibly busy. Race Retro was being held the same weekend in the Midlands, and the VSCC were having their Pomeroy Trophy at Silverstone. Soon it will be the Goodwood members meeting, so the season will be up and running in the next month or so. I'll hopefully be able to cover some of those events, so do like and subscribe below if you're enjoying the content.